Hello, everyone. Welcome to viewing this. Yep, that sounds good. How's everyone doing? How is it going, folks? Hopefully, you have been enjoying the GHW season launch for sure. I'm just in love with the hit today. But other than that, I am sure that it has been a blast for everyone. And I am going to wait a couple of seconds here, let everyone join, and then we can get started. I am so excited for this session. Like, I'm always excited for all the GHW sessions for sure. But this one has been like the preparation for this one has been uh, a personal favorite because I never thought that I would do something what I'm going to do today. uh, I mean, I'm just increasing the hype here, definitely. And no, I'm not going to do any stunts for sure. But uh, what are we going to do now? I am going to first wait for, like, 30 seconds, let everyone settle in, breathe, and then we are going to quickly get started with the overview of what we are going to build as a part of this stream. I mean, the name is kind of obvious. I've also put up this very good pathways, not pathways, more like a division of what are we going to do on day one in part one. That is, then tomorrow I have a part two scheduled and a part three scheduled. So, 3 sessions, and we are going to build component libraries and all. Uh, but yeah, I would just like to give a better overview. So let's wait for a couple of more seconds. Meanwhile, now this is going to be a flex, and please don't mind me. Meanwhile, I just wanted to, share my joy with everyone who has been coming to my streams lately. That I was chosen as one of the top 50 MLHs, like top 50 MLH, and I was so happy for that. So, and this success, actually, I owe it to all of you who have been coming here, been a part of these streams. Uh, you know, have kind of made me feel very much welcome to welcome and helpful to the community. So, I mean, without you there would be no community, and without a community there would be no me. So I owe my success to all of you, actually. So thank you so much for that. And thank you. Okie dokie. I think this is enough settling in period that I know everyone can have. Now let's get quickly started with what are we going to do. Step one is to make sure that you all have checked in. So if you have not checked in, don't worry. Let me just quickly share the link with you all. Actually, uh, that goes in chat, so please check in. That's first and foremost a very humble request. Please check in for the session. Once you are done, uh, what are we going to do as a part of these 3-part sessions? Well, and welcome to the part one, of course. So I've kind of divided it into 3 parts, or I've thought of dividing it based on the time it takes and everything. Uh, my idea is that we would do these 3 things, and we at the end of it would successfully build a component library and deploy or publish it, more like, to npm. Now if you are new to this whole react.js ecosystem, oh yeah, by the way, we'll use react, we'll use tailwindCSS. uh, Again, if you have been coming here, it's kind of my personal favorite here. Okay, but yeah, we are going to use react, we are going to use tailwind css, we'll use some other libraries, I would say, to finally see how the whole ecosystem goes, how we can build our own components, how we can add testing to it. That's one of the aspects that I am hoping to cover, because I feel that it is a skill which is very much necessary, very much required to add testing, but we just kind of gloss over it, right? Like no one, I've never heard of anyone at least who says that, yeah, I am going to explicitly do testing, or write tests for the components, more like. So but through these sessions, I'm also hoping to help you all learn the basics of testing, how you can add unit testing, more like more or less we'll talk about unit testing, how you can add unit testing to your React code base. And finally, on day 3, yeah, I know it seems very, not day 3 actually, tomorrow, uh, part 3, we'll actually publish it to npm. Then we'll talk about what can we refactor. I would invite you all to suggest more ideas about components, and I'll invite you all to add more PRs. Now, some of these are kind of internal things that I always talk about, but if you are new, let me just tell you. Number one is, let's talk about React. So, what is React? React is a JavaScript library slash framework. There are these two, we can have two groups, who one who's supporting the library side of it, someone supporting the framework side of it. For me, it's a tool to build something. So, and the whole idea of React is based upon a very simple fundamental, that is, I can kind of draw it out for you. Like, assume this is a web page, and on this web page you have the nav bar. Okay, let's go. There's a nav bar. There is a very nice, very big currently, or let's make it bit smaller, a button. uh Come on, give me some colors. Yep, there's a button. Then on the same page there is a footer section, okay, which goes down here. uh let's take this. Too bright, but ignore that. But if this is a web page, the top is nav bar, and there is a button here, and there is a footer here. What React says is you can divide these three things into three different files, JavaScript files. Okay, I'm going to put it very bluntly. This is not exactly React, but to get an idea of what components mean, what React says is you can divide it into three files. One can be a navbar file, one can be a button file, and one can be a footer file. And then this white thing, which I can give it, let's say, a very ugly orange, sorry. uh, but this orange thing right now is the main page where you want to place your these three files. These three files are my components. There's a navbar component, there's a button component, there's a footer component. And why it is helpful or useful? Because you can make it reusable. Okay, what I can do is I can take this button, I can actually give it a different name, new btn, and I can use it inside my navbar. So that is what React focuses on. Give it a different color, maybe. Okay, my color choice is becoming bad and bad, and it's going towards worse. But yeah, to get an idea of what I'm trying to say here, let's. This is too much. Yeah, you can use the same button, give it a different name, give it a different color, and use it inside navbar, and that is more of the React way. Build everything into small components, and once you build it into smaller components, you can reuse it multiple times. And that is what I am aiming for as a part of the stream. I am aiming to actually build a few of these components, like a button component, and one of the examples, of course, a button component, and then allow users, like some XYZ user, to actually download my components as a library, as a package, and use it in their project. And again, change colors, give different sizes, make it big, small, whatever. But yeah, that is the whole idea. That is the idea of components. That's the idea of package. I hope that was useful and understandable. If not, I'm sure once we start building stuff, you'll get an idea of it. What all things are we going to use? uh, One of the very talked about or upcoming, I would say, bundler is vite right now. So we are actually going to use vite. Again, if you have been with me in my previous streams, we actually by default use vite, but we have never actually configured it. But as a part of this stream, we are going to end up configuring vite, because vite has two modes. Okay, one can be a library mode. Okay, there is a library mode, and then there is our normal mode of building the app for a browser. But as a part of this stream, we are going to use the library mode of vite. Now for testing, I'm not sure, I'm actually still contemplating. Maybe I'll end up using react testing library along with vtest, or maybe just, I am not sure yet. But by tomorrow, by part 2, we'll have a better idea of what we can use for testing. And other than that, we'll use multiple tools. Of course, there's tailwindCSS. How could I forget tailwind? It just like literally went off my mind that there's supposed to be tailwindCSS being used. So we'll use tailwindCSS. uh, if you're new to it, instead of writing css, you write tailwind. Okay, that's the easiest way to put it. Instead of writing your normal css to style things, you write tailwind to style things. But at the end of the day, that gets converted into css. Okay, perfect. If all that is clear, let's get started. Also, as a part of again the stream, we'll have the session going on, then we'll take a break in between, the stretch, have some water, come back, and then continue. Okay. Now this is going to get repetitive, but I'm a big fan of Replit. Why? Because it allows me to use the ecosystem without actually trying to install a bunch of not libraries, I would say, without the headache of setup. Now, I love setup. I'm not going to say that, okay, never do a setup of your IDE or text editor or something. Do that. Install a bunch of libraries so you get a better idea of what each and everything does. But at the same time, as when we are doing the stream, it's very difficult to figure out what everyone's system is, what are the problems that they're facing with the setup and installation or something. That is why I like Replit. Gives you the whole IDE experience in the browser, and it's my personal favorite. If you want to follow along today, I would say that please use Replit. You can use your personal development environment if you already have Node.js downloaded and set up, and you have built projects with React, and you know what extensions that you're going to use for your IDE, like let's say for VS Code, or maybe for IntelliJ or WebStorm, or whatever you end up using, or Sublime, of course. Uh, Whatever you end up using, if you have already set it up previously, feel free to continue with that. If you have not set it up, create an account on Replit. It's free, at least for our use case. It's free and it's fast, and it's very easy to create an account. You just click on one sign in slash sign up button, sign in with Google, and voila, you're done. Now, every time I try to sell it, and every time I give this disclaimer that I'm nowhere associated with them, just my personal suggestion. or MLS is no like not associated with them right now. Okay, so once you have created an account on Replit, we are going to go towards the next step is finding a template. Now, what is a template? Uh, Template is kind of our pre-written code that someone has already built it for us, already done some part of setup, which we are going to just take over, add our stuff to it. So we don't have to go through the whole step of install, add Node.js, add XYZ packages like vite and how does vite work and all those things. We don't have to do that. Interestingly, maybe someday in future, I'm going to take a session of how to create your own template in Replit. Not today for sure. So which template are we going to use? We are going to use React template. There is this one which has like 260.8K uses, 138 likes. It's called React JavaScript, and we are going to use this template. And to use it, just click on it. Perfect. And then click on use template, give it a name. For us, it would be GH. Oh my. These are all the sessions that I've done using this template. So GHW dash build your oops, own component library using React, Tailwind. Just put etc. right now. But this is what we are going to do. And once you have done that, click on the use template option and just wait. Once you wait long enough, you'll get something come up. Just hold on. I'm going to pause here again for 10 or so seconds. Let everyone create an account, click on use template, use this template, and then we'll proceed. So 10 seconds. Meanwhile, if you have any questions or anything, let me know. I used Replit yesterday for a project I submitted. Very easy to use. That is so awesome. Perfect. 10 seconds of silence there. Now, once you have done this and once you have completed this, what you have to do, let's first test whether this whole thing works properly or works as we expect it to work. Click on this big green button right on top. It just cannot be more obvious. Once you do that, let it load, and hopefully you will see something on your right. If you don't, click on this open in new tab option, which is just right here in the web view that we get. And let it load, of course. Did I say it was fast? I take, I would say it is fast. Frankly, it is fast. Man, this is what I'm using. Can someone tell me what to do after? Oh, once you have created an account, it is pretty simple. Let me actually open it in a new tab quickly. So once you have created an account, you reach somewhere here, click on templates, search for a React template and choose the React JavaScript template. Once you choose that, click on the use template option. Can I do similar activities using VS Code? Yes, you can. Definitely you can. Uh, what happened to this one? Just sometimes it takes a wee bit longer to run. Yeah, coming back. So once you click on that option, click on use template. And once you click on use template, give it a name, give it a description, click on use template, and that's it. That's all we have done till now. And this is not working. Why is it not working? It says that it cannot find my repl. which is interesting, which is very interesting. So maybe I'll just, just stop and restart and see if it works, frankly. Yep, there it is. As you can see on right, I can see something on the right hand side. I still can't see anything. Let's see if I can see something here. But yeah, it works. I can see something for sure. The question was, can I do similar activities using VS Code? Yes. Well, so on VS Code, create a Vite project. And to create a Vite project, actually, you could see the guide on Get Started. And once you do that, you have to do this command. Just instead of Vue template, you have to use the React template. So I'll also my React, not my React app. We can call it GHW-lib app, and the template would be React. So I have sent the command in chat for someone, if someone wants to, do it using like on in VS Code and build it locally instead of using Replit. Perfect. So yep, that's it. It's still not showing it to me, but that's all right. Okay, now what are we going to change? We are going to change a bunch of things. So once you have reached this stage, and I hope everyone has, what are we going to do? We are going to very quickly first delete this whole CSS that we have there. Okay, once you delete that particular CSS, yep, once you delete that particular CSS, you should see that on the right hand side, it goes on the top. I still don't know why this is not working. And yeah, once you delete everything in app.css, it should be fine. Finally, this is up and running. Second thing is go to your index.html. Once you go there, on the bottom, you will see this piece of code. Just remove that. So what is it doing? It is basically showing this made with Replit badge on bottom right. And I don't have any hate, but for the purpose of our library, I don't want to bundle this. So that is why I'm going to remove it. So this is the second change that we made. So change number one was to remove all the CSS that was there. Change number two was to remove the badge that was below this particular line. Change number three is going to be interesting. I'm going to rename a particular file. Why am I doing this? Well, we could actually work with like having this as index.jsx, but I wanted to show you like for the purpose of this project, or more like once we move into building the library, actually we are going to use xyz stuff. We are going to create multiple index.js maybe, and I don't want you to get confused. That is why the root index.jsx, we are renaming it to main.jsx. Once you have made that change, we are going to actually do the next thing. And what is the next thing going to be? Okay. Yeah, what is the change going to be? Now on this files, okay, on the files, there is a new file, there's a new folder, and there's this, I think it's called as kebab menu. And click on that, basically the three dots, and show hidden files. Okay, that's the next important step. Click on the three dots and click on show hidden files. Once you have shown it, you will see a lot more files come in here. Okay, a lot more than originally that was there. So now we also have a .gitignore file. There is a readme.md file. There's a tsconfig.json file, and there's this vite.config.js file. So we need these files, and that's why I asked you to click on that show hidden files. Now there's this comment, no linkin.html pointing. I am sorry, but I'm not sure uh, what was the session yesterday, but hopefully we'll not end up doing this mistake today, and hopefully your replet will work. Perfect. So once everyone has clicked on the show hidden files by clicking on this hamburg kebab menu, I think, and once you have shown the hidden files and once you have reached this vite.config.js, we can take the step forward from here. Okay. Also, if you notice, there's nothing being shown here on our page. Why is that? Let's go back to, like, let's first fix this. Let's go back to index.html, and here you can see on line number 11 it is saying that it is pointing to this slash src slash index.jsx file, which does not exist anymore. It should be renamed to main.jsx. Okay, once that's done, then you can see, oops, should not have reloaded. But yeah, you can now see the text coming back. Okay, no questions. That is interesting. It seems everyone has been following along very well, which it's commendable, definitely. Just to go over it very quickly, we had an index.jsx file. We renamed it to main.jsx. We changed the index.html to point to main.jsx. We showed all the hidden files, and that's it. Perfect. Once you have done all that, let's come to vite config.js. Now, there are two ways that we can do this right now. Way number one, we first create a component and then we do the settings. Way number two is we do the settings first and then create the component. I am actually okay with anything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to first give you a structure of how we are going to structure our folder, how we are going to structure a project, and why is it necessary. So the thing is that if you saw me very quickly search for library mode, you will see that there are some changes that we have to do. Now, this build, this roll up options, majorly this whole build config is missing from our current config. It is just using this plugins React, and there's a server where the host is pointing to 0.0.0.0. But we have to add this configuration. Now, once we add that configuration, then we also have to make this change, this particular change, which is to give a particular name, a particular type, and the files, and blah, blah, blah. And once that is done, that's how we can build our project into a library. Now, to do that, we also have to first think about a structure of our project. Currently, what do we have? Currently, we have a SRC, the source folder, where there's the main.jsx, there is app.jsx, and there's this app.css. Okay, these are files. As I said at the start, we are going to build components. Components are going to be small building blocks of uh, very small building blocks, which we are then going to publish on npm. So it makes sense to have a components folder, right? So it makes sense to have components folder. Now inside our components folder, we will have different components. We are going to start with something very small, very basic, that is a button component. Okay, what is going to be a button component? So we will create a file. We will call it button.jsx, and we'll add a bunch of code there. We'll do some styling using tailwind css, and that whole thing becomes a component. Okay, cool. So yeah, we can take either of these steps. Either we first do the configuration, then build components, or do components and then configuration. I'm actually going to quickly think what would be better. Like, while preparing for this session, I actually went the other way. That was doing the config first and then building components. But I think that was not very easy to understand. Especially, like, I got confused a bunch of times. Like, why am I seeing this in the documentation? And I had to change the whole project multiple times. Mm, okay, let's build components first. Okay, let's build components. So hopefully you have created a components directory. Once you have created this folder components, you can click on it and you will see that Replit gives you this very fine, very easy option of, add a file or a folder. We are going to add a file. We are going to call it button.jsx. Now, in this button.jsx, what is a JSX? So a JSX is JavaScript extension or XML kind of uh, JavaScript extension, which kind of combines your JavaScript functionality and XML like structuring together. And in React, when we build components, we use this JavaScript extension format where we kind of, okay, now focus on the word, kind of write HTML inside a JavaScript file. And there is a particular format that I like to follow with respect to how you are supposed to, or how you can structure your components. And this is very basic. So step number one is you do a import React from React. That's step one. Once you have done that, then you create a file or function. Sorry, you create a function. Name of the function, always try to ensure that it is same as the name of the file. So const button equals to this, and we are using arrow function. And once you have done that, do a return. And finally, at the bottom, you do a export default button. Now you can think of this as a boilerplate for creating any component. Just make sure that you change the name. And that's it. Now we can return anything. I'm going to simply return a button. Now, as I said, this button thing, this is hopefully I have it open somewhere. Okay, doesn't seem like it. But this button is our HTML button. Yep, this button element. And yeah, that's it. We are going to use this button or return this button. We can call it hello world, the best thing. And once we have done that, what we are supposed to do, we are going to come back to our app.jsx. So what have we done? We have created a button.jsx where we first added a boilerplate code that I showed you. And then in the return, we added a button, a very normal HTML button actually. Uh, and that's why we don't have to import it as a library or something. You can just add it very simply as just doing this. And we added that, we gave it a name, and now let's import it. So where are we going to import it? If you have again never worked with React, the structure goes this way. So main.jsx, it imports the app file, which is app.jsx. And in the app.jsx, we are going to import our different files that we are going to create. So here I'm going to import 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 what is the name of our this thing. It is called as button. And where is it supposed to come from? Okay, as you saw, Replit gave me a very nice suggestion of, oh, I think you are going to import it from dot slash. Dot basically means that in current folder, from here, go into a components folder and slash button. Now you don't have to give it an extension like button.j. You don't have to call it button.jsx, because if it is a JSX file or a JS file, JavaScript or JavaScript extension file, uh, you don't have to explicitly give the extension. But if it is a different file, like let's say if it's a CSS file, then you have to give it an extension. Once you have done that, now this is a component. So the same way we write our uh, what do you call HTML, the same way we wrote our HTML like syntax, which is like angle bracket button and close the angle bracket. Same way we can actually use this button with the capital B. So open angle bracket button, but instead of closing it with like two things, we can actually do a self closing here. Okay, once you do the self closing, and you don't have to do anything, mostly it should restart on its own, but there's the button. Okay, it's very small, so let me just increase the size of the screen, but I hope it's visible. Like, we have the button. Now there's this error, react is declared but its value is never read. uh, yeah, actually you could remove it. So, you know we are not using a react here explicitly, we're not calling it. Vite is smart. It understands that you're setting up a react project. And how does it know that? Because in plugins there's this react, allows you to use react features and everything. So Vite is smart to understand that you're using react files, so you don't have to explicitly declare that this file is a react file, or we are going to build react components. That's why it's not an error, it's more of a warning. And you can just ignore the warning if you like, actually, or you could just remove that line and it would not affect the project itself. Perfect. So we have successfully added a component and we have imported it in here. Now there are a bunch of things that are missing. I'm going to go step by step. Number one, the name of this. So the name or the document title here is React plus TypeScript plus Replit. I am going to change that to what we are building. So we are actually building GHW component library v1. Okay, this is our version 1, because by part 3 of this session maybe we will have a v2. Let's see. So that changed. That's nice. Perfect. The next thing that I am looking forward to changing is the name of our project in the package.json. So in package.json, whatever name of the project you have, that is going to be the name of the library that will be built. Now I don't want it to be called React JavaScripts. I think I'm going to actually call it uh, what okay, GHW components. Yeah, of course. So we can call it GHW dash components dash. I'm going to put my initials here, and I'm also going to put a test here so that no one ends up using my components, which is not perfect. But also, with respect to libraries, the names are supposed to be unique. So if I publish GHW dash components and someone else also ends up publishing GHW components on NPM, that is not going to be possible. So names of the libraries are supposed to be unique. Again, this is as far as I know. So maybe adding your initials or something would be good. Yep. So that is what I'm going to call it. GHW dash components dash UT dash test. Someone had a very great suggestion of GHW lib app. Yep, definitely go for it. Just add your initial so that there's this difference between the library names. What is the description going to be? I'm like, this description is more like for someone who ends up actually seeing this. So GHW UI components in React and tailwind. Author, I'm just going to add UT there. Don't need the keyword, so let's also remove things that we are not going to need. For the license, I'm going to give it MIT license. Actually, you can read all about licenses by, I think there's a very good website, uh, software license. Choose a license, yeah, choosealicense.com. You can actually read all about different licenses, what do they permit, what they don't permit, by going to this particular website, just seeing what are the permissions, what are the conditions, and what are the limitations of using this particular license. Uh, by using MIT license, I actually give permission to use my project for commercial use. You can use it for private use, and yeah, bunch of things. Perfect. So, and if you think that, why am I doing all this? Is it necessary? Yes, it is. Especially the name and the version. Okay, this is very much necessary. There are some other things which will be required by vite, example, the type module. And I think, yeah, that should be it for right now, at least. So, yep, we have created a component, we have imported a component, we have changed the name of our project so that once we start building it for publishing it, we don't see a very generic name. Now, what's the next step? The next step, I think, should be styling this. Okay. I'm sorry. Styling this, why? It looks ugly. Because it looks really ugly right now. So for styling, as I said, we are going to use Tailwind CSS. So hopefully you all can quickly navigate here. I'm also going to post it in the chat right there. Click on the get started. Once you have reached there, and I'm going to again take a wait. Last time I think I quickly glossed over a bunch of stuff and it was a bit confusing. So I'm going to wait. Please, please, please go on tailwindcss.com, click on the get started and take a pause. Yeah, I think that's good enough pause. Once you have done that, click on the framework guides. Now, when I was preparing for this session, that's when I actually realized the amount of frameworks has just increased like this. Okay, and it's good. It's like really good. And for the purpose of our project, we're actually using vite, and we are using vite with react. So this is where we will end up with. Hopefully you all have reached this part. Once you have reached here, the step one is to create your project, which we already have, so we can skip over creating the project for sure. The next part is installation of tailwind css. This is where the magic is going to happen. Sorry. Yeah, the step one here is just copy this line, that is npm install dash d tailwind css post css and auto prefix it. Now let's go back to our project. And what is this dash D mean? It means that in package JSON, if you go back to package JSON, there's dependencies and there's dev dependencies. So the dash capital D means that it is going to install it here in dev dependencies. How do we install the package? Well, actually, I realized that there are multiple ways to do it. One of them is you could, I think, search for some packages here. Okay, like, let me see. Yep, packages. And you can search for, let's say, tailwind CSS, and you can install it from here. Yep, you can actually install it from here, right here. But I'm going to I would prefer the hard way here, which is doing it from the terminal. So in your terminal, in the shell, okay, that is very important. In the shell, not in console, in the shell, go there and just paste whatever we copied. That's all I ask. Go on the shell, paste it there. If you can't find the shell, if you don't have the shell option, you can actually go to tools and just quickly search for shell here. It's like, for me, it's the bottommost uh, option. And if you click on it, you will find shell open. Okay, shell will open for you. Now it has installed, and there's also this thing. Where did I find the command? The command is right here on Tailwind CSS website. This first one. I'm actually going to share both of them in the chat. So I am first sharing the link, and then I am also going to share the command. The links there, and the command is right here. Perfect. It's in the chat. So once you have done that, you will see this thing, four vulnerabilities. Now, I spent some time in my last GHW session talking about what is this vulnerability, how do we resolve it, and yada yada yada. But for the purpose of this session, I'm not going to re-spend my time there. But the problem is that in Vite, okay, especially, let me just quickly search sneak Vite. Yeah. So in the package Vite, which is our web, the tool that we are using, the versions that are below like 4.3.8, they have this one high vulnerability. Okay, there is I think code execution or some CVE issue. I remember reading about it and I remember showing it, and you could actually see what are the issues right here. There's a path equivalence issue uh, in Vite, and there's also this directory traversal issue in Vite. So these issues are not present, at least right now. They are not in the latest version, that is 4.4.2. So what we are going to do is we are going to upgrade our package here. We And also, how can you have a look at it? So if you do npm audit in the shell itself, and let me just increase the size of this, you will find that it gives us this audit report, where it says that semver less than 7.5.2 has some vulnerabilities. There's Vite, where between 4.1.0 and 4.1.4, there's a severity, and there is, okay, yeah, you can actually find what the vulnerability is and how does it affect you. If you click on it, you can actually quickly see. Yep, right here. Like, normally if you are opening Vite project and you try to open the .env file, which should be restricted, then it is not going to open. But if you do a double forward slash and open it, you can actually see the secret file. Okay, that is the issue, and that was fixed in 4 point something, which was, what was it, 4.4.2 and 4.4.1. So we are going to use that. So we are going to change this to 4.4 I keep forgetting, 4.4.2. And once you have done that, what you are supposed to do, you're going to do a npm install once again. Okay, that's all that you have to do. Just change the version number and do a npm install. Now we had four issues, three moderate, one high. We end up with just three moderate issues. uh, I'm not going to fix the semver issue right now, like, yeah, kind of out of scope of today's projects, but that's how you can actually resolve vulnerabilities for packages that are currently installed. Okay. uh yep, I think that's good. What else is there? What else is there? Cannot find modules, blah 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 blah. Okay, what we can do is just do a stop and rerun it, and hopefully that should work and should build it for us. Yep, that's it. Now, where were we? We had actually run this particular command. We had run this. It's already done. And you can see tailwind CSS being installed here, auto prefixer being installed, and post CSS being installed. Okay. What's the next command that we are supposed to run? The next command is to run this npx tailwind CSS init dash p. So let me just increase the size of this once again and run a clear. And now we are going to paste our command again. And once we do that, we will see that it creates actually two files. It says created tailwind css config file, and it is called as tailwind.config.js. And it created a post css config file. It's called post css.config.js. And we can actually see these in like in the root of our project, uh, in the same line as vite.config that is there. So there is this post css.config and there's this tailwind css.config.js. Let's go back to the documentation. So next it says that configure your template paths, which basically says that in the current content array that is here, in the content array, please add these two lines. Okay, so I'm just going to copy it, come back here and paste it inside the array. Once you have done that, what's the next step? Let's see. Hopefully everyone has followed me till right now, like till here. Again, we have just been copying from documentation. Definitely easy. And the next one it says is add at the rate tailwind directives for each of tailwind's layers to your index.css file. Now interestingly, we actually don't have index.css. What's our root css file? Like the one main major file that is being used, that is app.css, where we had some pre-written css which we deleted. Okay, please hear me out very carefully. We deleted anything that was written inside app.css previously. Please ensure that you delete it, otherwise you will end up with very weird css. Once you have done that, just paste the three lines that we copied again from documentation, and then it says start your build process, which for us is actually running. But let's see if we can stop it and restart it. Okay, once we restart, you can see that around the button there was supposed to be this very ugly looking kind of gray background and border and everything that goes away, which is nice. But now we end up with empty thing, empty box, or maybe a no box. So let's go back again, let's check. It says that you can add these class names and all. Now this class name has been added to a h1 tag, heading tag, but for the purpose of our project, where this button is concerned, we can add a different class name. Now, of course, I have used Tailwind a lot. I've prepared for this session for sure. Okay, I'd never come unprepared. And yeah, since I've done all those things, that's why I know how we are supposed to style it. But I'll also give you a bunch of hints along the way. So, number one, to style anything in Tailwind CSS, as you can see, it says that anything, the way we style it is supposed to be done inside this class name equals to. So, let's do that. We do a class name equals to, like, for now let's keep it empty string. Perfect. Now what do these directives actually mean? So there is this text dash 3xl. So we can actually do a quick search here, and once you search for it you will find, okay, not here, what it means. It is supposed to mean font size, right? And text dash 3xl, it actually means, like, in our normal css, if we talk about a normal css translation, we would when we write font dash size and give it a value of 1.875 rem or 30 pixels, and give a line height of this 36 pixels, these two lines of code can be achieved in one by writing just text dash 3xl. So that's the utilities that Tailwind gives us. Shorthand properties, okay, for something complex. Now our button is supposed to have a background color, right? So we can actually see if we can find background color. Yep, we can. So it is supposed to have, like, oh, there is a button right here. And see, a button. Now here they say class, and they are actually talking about HTML class. But okay, let's clear this confusion right here. So instead of writing class equals to, I am writing class name equals to. If I do a class equals to, let's see what happens. I have written button class equals to, and let's go back and see bg dash indigo dash 500. Perfect. Let's come back here. Let's paste that value. Where is this coming from? We can have a look, and let's go back and reload. And you can see, like, our hello world has a background color of some indigo 500, and it also gives a warning: invalid dom property class. Did you mean class name? So what is happening? As I told you, we are using JSX, inside which we are writing HTML like thing. Okay, it's not exactly HTML. It looks like HTML, but it's not HTML. So this button that we write, it is exactly like HTML, but not HTML. And on a HTML at not attribute, a component, we have this class attribute. But in JavaScript, class is a reserved keyword actually. Okay, class is a reserved keyword. It is used to create class. What is class? So, like, there are two things: there's a class, there's a function, right? So class is a reserved keyword. That is why React renamed it and called it class name instead of calling it class. There's a question here. Text dash 3x is definition from Tailwind itself. It's not a yes, yes, yes. It's a definition from Tailwind actually, and you can overwrite that definition, like, if you want. But I think their definition is kind of very, perfectly aligned in a way. But yeah, it is a definition from Tailwind said that if someone chooses to write text dash 3xl, these are the two properties that we are going to apply to it, to that particular thing. Okay, so that's how we gave it a background of indigo 500. Looks kind of bad right now, but we can make it pretty. So what is this bg dash indigo? So you now know, if you want to give a background color to something, you can do a bg dash, bg is background dash, and a color name. Which colors are available in Tailwind? You can actually search for customizing colors. And these are the bunch of colors that are available in Tailwind. So BG-indigo 500 basically means this particular color. Okay, this shade of indigo. We can change it to anything we want. I'm actually going to give it BG, that is background color, of blue. And I think this 700 looks good. So blue and 700. And if you wait long enough, you will see that, okay, that has changed from indigo to blue. I still feel the text color inside it can be changed. So for if you, I mean, kind of, what's it called when you make correlation? Yeah, correlation. So if you want to give a background color, you do a BG. If you want to change the text color, you do a text dash, and you can give it any color. You can give it, let's say, white if you want, and that should change it to white. Yep, looks good. But I have actually read their book, Refactoring UI, from the creators of Tailwind CSS. Really nice book, would highly recommend. And they, in one of their chapters, they have said that, use contrasting colors in the same domain. So if you're using blue 700 in the background, you can use blue 50 in the text, and that would be in same domain, and would very nicely uh, work with each other, kind of. I mean, I cannot put it exactly, but yeah, highly recommend reading that book. So now we end up add, like, we have changed the color, the font color has changed, the text color has changed, there's a background, it still is where there's like no space around the text and the background. So we can add a margin and maybe some padding around it. Okay, how do you add that? Well, let's go back, let's search margin, and you can add a margin. You can do a x margin, so on the x axis you can add a y margin, on the y axis you can do all these things. If you add a m-1, it adds a margin of 0.25 rem, or maybe 4 pixel equivalent on all sides, or you can explicitly define where you want the margin to be. So I'm going to say that please give it a margin of 2 on all sides. Once you do that, you will see, okay, it has come a bit down, but I want the text to squeeze inside. That can be achieved by giving it a padding of, let's say, 2 again. Perfect. So now there's space around this whole thing, and now it looks very big. So I'm going to just decrease the screen size. Back to original. This is how it is supposed to look. What else? It looks very much pointy, like, very, looks very hazardous. So can we make it a bit rounded? Yes, we can. Let's search for rounded. So rounded corners, you can add rounded to give it this very small rounded. You can add a rounded MD, rounded LG, or rounded full to make it a full circle. I am going to go with rounded dash LG. I think that looks very good. Okay, perfect. And this is how my button looks. Okay, LG, I think it's a bit too much. Maybe I can go with MD. Perfect. And this is finally how our button looks using Tailwind CSS. And now I think this is the perfect time to take a break. Any questions, anyone, before we go on for, like, let's say 5 to 7 minutes break? Any questions, anyone? I think I'm going to take the silence as golden. No questions, anyone? That is great. Seems everyone has understood everything. I forgot to give one particular disclaimer at the start of this session. You might think that I'm taking it really slowly. I'm like literally repeating a bunch of stuff again and again. I'm trying to make it very easy or simple, and some of you might have are beyond that particular level, but I would still request you to stick around and help others who are very new to this ecosystem, because yeah, all my sessions are supposed to start from like very basic level to somewhat beyond basic, definitely. And I would need all of your help, people who have already done this, been there, done that, to help the beginners in the community. Okay, people explaining or helping each other in chat, that is the kind of stuff that I really like. So yeah, if you find this to be going very slowly, please, a very humble request, stick around, help others to learn it quickly. Okay, and I think this is the perfect time to take a break. I think 7 minutes break should be good. Okay, once we are back, once we come back, we are going to go ahead from here. Okay, perfect. Let me add some music for you folks, just background music, enjoy it. And I'm going to mute myself, stop my camera, but I'm going to keep this particular thing open so that you can have a quick, like, have a look at it, copy it over to whatever you want, and we'll be back soon. Hello, back. And any questions for me? Okay, let me just remove the first. Thank you so much, background music. Won't be needed right now. And is there a way for me to contact you? If it is, code related question, I would say put it on the MLH channel because then everyone can pitch in to help. If it is a personal question or something, feel free to ping me on Discord. Okay, so for both of them, ping on Discord. If it's personal, ping on my personal Discord. You can find me, like, just do @UT on MLH Discord channel and you can find me. Or if it is a code related question based on the session that we are doing and stuff, maybe put it just on the MLH channel. I think there's Ask GHW there, I think, or one of the GHW channels. So that may be one of the questions that you not sessions. What am I saying? One of the places where you can uh, put your question. Hopefully that helps. Now let's move on. Okay. Uh, let me wait for 15 minutes, not 15 minutes, 10-15 seconds. Let everyone join, come back from the break. Hopefully you had a really nice stretch. I know I did, definitely. Okay, just like sitting for so long just wears my body out. Okay, once you're back, and yeah, I think perfect time to start. Once you're back, this is what we have right now. Let me remove a bunch of stuff from here. Number one is this whole thing. I don't want this part, definitely. So I'm going to remove that and wrap this around a section. Okay. I'm going to wrap it around a section. Now, if you see this, there's definitely a scope of formatting improvement here. One way to format is just above the name of the file, you can find this format, but sometimes you will get this error. Sorry, formatting failed. Like, keep looking on the bottom right hand side. It says formatting failed. Is it because of an error in our code? I don't think so, because the output comes right there. It, I think, just like Replit gets overwhelmed sometimes. So one of the personal favorite websites for me to quickly format my JavaScript related file, like JSX or JS file, is Prettier. Okay. I think again, it's very popular and it's used at multiple places to prettify your code. So look at the left hand side and look at the right hand side. Which one would you say is more readable? Like, once you have a quick glance, again, some of you might argue, okay, this is fine. But for me, I think this is better looking. Okay, for sure. Once I read or gloss over it, I get a sense of what is written or what is happening here. So same for us. I'm going to just copy this. Okay, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just copying it. I'm going over to Prettier. On the left hand side, I'm deleting whatever they have, pasting it, and see, there was this button here, section inside and stuff, but now it's properly formatted. Okay, and nothing changes in the code, definitely. It's still the same thing. Single inverted commas here have been changed to double inverted and blah blah blah. Perfect. So that's done. I think I'll also take our button.jsx, go over to Prettier and format it. I think it looks nearly similar except for this coming down and this here, which I think it's a good addition, definitely. And that's it. Anything else that we need to format? We can format the main.jsx, even though we are not going to have a look at it, like, going to exactly work with it right now. It does not format CSS files, so please don't bother. And yeah, I think once that's done, let's move to the next part. Okay, the next bit is, how do I convert this to a library? Okay, as I had told you initially, that if you want to convert it to a library, then you have, like, we have to make some changes in the vite config. So I'm going to go over to the vite config.js. And what do we have here? So we have defined config already. Also, since this is also a JS file, I can go over to prettier and quickly prettify it. Yeah, just the single inverted commas changed to double. Now, I'm also going to quickly gloss over the what each of these things mean. So number one is import define config from wait. Uh, Very simple to understand. It is used to define the configuration object that we have right here, where all our configuration goes in. And import react from vite.js slash plugin dash react. It enables react specific features and optimizations which we are using here. The next thing that we want to do is import resolve. Okay, import resolve from path. Okay, now this is inbuilt kind of. Okay, uh what do I mean by inbuilt kind of? Path is one of the inbuilt Node.js libraries. And since this whole ecosystem is built upon Node.js, Vite has it kind of, you can say, a pre-installed thing which is not visual, like it's not there in your package JSON for sure, but it comes bundled with Vite itself. And from that, we are using the resolve function, which is used to resolve or find the file path. Okay, yeah, so we are going to use that library. Now let's come a bit below. Now I'm going to show you that, whatever I'm going to do, uh it's not something that is out of this world, or you can't find the documentation for sure. So just back at the documentation, you can see that they are also using resolve. That's how I know that I'm supposed to use it. And in this build, okay, they have this defined config which closes down here, but everything above the last line till build, okay, till here, I'm going to just literally copy it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm copying it from this build of, like, the key, build, and its value, it starts from there and it goes right up to the second last line. Okay, so let me increase the font size a bit. It starts from here, goes right up to the second last line, and I am just going to copy it, and I'm going to come over to our config file and I'm going to paste it. That is all that I have done. And if you, I think it's a good time to actually stop and restart your project. So if there are any errors, you will find it right now. And it seems like it's working. Okay, very quick question. Uh, I'm getting this Wi-Fi connection issue. Anyone, like, am I still there? Is there a lag? What's happening? Anyone just quickly confirm in chat. Okay, no issues. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank God. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about the Vite config. I literally copy pasted it. Okay, and now let's make changes, because this config, as you can see, there's this view and view written here and there. So it means it is with respect to Vue.js, but we are using React.js. So let's now make changes to it. So step number one is let's prettify it. Okay. Hopefully that would make it very easy to find. So build is here, fine. Then there's the lib, and then it says could also be a dictionary or array of multiple entry points. Okay. It's saying what is the entry file to your library. Now it says that, like, this is where it is using resolve and underscore underscore dir name, that is the directory name, the parent directory name, you can say, and then it is going inside this lib slash main.js. Now lib slash main.js, we don't have a lib slash main.js. Instead, what we have, like in our source folder, we have a components folder, and inside that I will create a index.js file actually inside it. Okay, so I hope that was understandable, but what I just did, or I can actually remove the slash. So inside the source folder, we have a components folder, and inside that there will be, like, I'm going to create it right now, there will be an index.js that is the entry point to our library. Okay, it's not at the root and it is not inside a lib folder, it is inside the source components index.js file, that is the entry point. So now let's go to our components folder. You can click on this kebab menu, yeah, should have checked it, I'm supposed to, it's been so long. And let's call let's create an index.js file here. Now what is going to go inside the index.js file? Like, that's the next question that we are supposed to ask ourselves. So now this is a syntax. You can think of this as a syntax. And the syntax is like, we should export our default as button from dot slash button. Now you can, as I said, you can think of it as a way or syntax set in stone in a way that, okay, let's you look it from the user perspective. Anyone who wants to use the button, they are going to do a import button from the name of the library, the way we do for React, where we had React, yeah, import React from the React library. That's how we are importing React in our project. Similarly, when someone wants to import our button, they are going to do a import button from, like, whatever, what is the name of our library going to be? It is going to be GHW dash components dash ut dash test, import button from GHW components ut test library. And this particular line, it says, like, from the dot slash button, which basically means that in the same folder that we are in, export the code for this button, and that should be a default export. uh, you can export things as a constant, you can export thing as a module, but in this we are doing a default export. I am kind of missing the beat here on how to explain it, but for the purpose of this session, just think that, okay, this is one of the syntaxes and it is supposed to look how it is looking right here. Maybe tomorrow I will find a better explanation, please excuse me right now. uh yep. So export default as button from dot slash button. So this is now our entry point file. Let's go back. What was it? It was index.js file. It's our entry point. And this right here is the entry point. Perfect. What's the next step? Now the next step is what is supposed to be the name of my library, right? And the name, as you all know, is GHW dash components dash ut dash test. That's why it was, right? Ah, okay, I should also close a bunch of these files that I have open without any need. Yeah, right now we are only supposed to work with this. So GHW dash components dash ut dash test. This comes as the name of my library. So you can think of the name of the library as something which is on the left hand side. So auto prefixer, that is a name of the library. So that whatever here is on the left hand side, that is the name of the library. Okay, and the right hand side is the version, of course. And that is why we need this version. Okay, because when someone imports our library in their project, they're going to specify which version they want to import. So that's the name and the name of the file. So okay, what is supposed to be the name of the file and why do we need it? And I'm going to do a very basic thing here right now, but there definitely are ways to improve it. Okay, let me tell you that there are definite ways of improving this file generation. But again, for the purpose of our whole thing, our whole library, or at least for today's session, I'm going to give it exactly the same name that I gave to our library. And I'm saying that generate some files. Where is this going to be generated? What is it going to look like? We'll have a look at it quickly. But generate these files and name the files as ghw-components-ut-test. Perfect. Now, next is the roll-up options. So it says that make sure to externalize dependencies that shouldn't be bundled into your library. Now, there is this conceptual thing that's going to happen right here. And okay, we are building a React project, okay? A React library. Now, whoever is going to use our library, they should be working on a React project, and then and only then they are going to be able to use our components that we are building. And what this thing is saying, this line is saying, or what this external does is it tells rollup. What is rollup here? Rollup is the internally, it's the bundler that vite uses. So it tells rollup that don't bundle or compress. Or what is bundling? Bundling is taking the libraries that are being used by the project, putting them together in a file and giving it to the user, building it. Okay, that's what it is doing. So what we are telling here is don't bundle, like in this case, don't bundle React and don't bundle React DOM with this project. Okay, with the output, don't bundle the code of React and React DOM in the final output that is supposed to come out of this. Okay, the library file should not have code of React and React DOM inside them. Why should they not have it? Because the user would already install React and React DOM to actually use our library. So they will already have it. So they don't need to have it again. Okay, from our library itself. So that is why we need we need this line, don't bundle the libraries that are not supposed to be used and are already going to be installed by the user. And second thing is globals. It says that provide global variables to use in the UMD build for externalized depths dependencies. You can say UMD build. What does that mean? Anyone would like to take a quick guess? UMD. What does it mean? Google it. Definitely, that's one easy way to find it. Okay, UMD stands for Universal Module Definition, and it is kind of files. Okay, it is a JavaScript file that kind of tries to guess at the runtime, like when the user is using it. Like it tries to guess at the runtime what is being imported here and imports that. What I mean is, like, we are not going to bundle React and React DOM with our library. Okay, we are not going to give the user code of React and React DOM in our library, but they're still supposed to use React and React DOM, and they would install it on their project. Like, let's say I give it to one of you, I give my library to one of you, and you already have React and React DOM installed in your project, and my project is also using React and React DOM. When you add it to globals, anywhere it encounters the word React and React DOM or the features related to React and React DOM, it will replace the internal names, okay, internal names like this, wherever it's used, with the library that is installed in your project. I hope that makes sense a bit. So if it encounters this line in my library, it will replace this import React from React, and it will find this particular React library in the root wherever you have installed in your package JSON, and replace the React in my library with the one that is at root. Am I confusing it a lot? Am I confusing you all a lot? Was that understandable? The whole idea is find and replace. That's all it is doing. Finding the words, like not words, more like libraries, and in my build folder, and replacing it with the one that's installed at the root of the project. And we need this because we are not bundling React and we are not bundling React DOM with our project, but we are going to still use it. So this is supposed to change to React, right? And wherever the code finds this word React or finds the properties related to React, it should change it to this. What about React DOM? How is React DOM written? It is written as React hyphen DOM. Okay, React dash DOM. So wherever it finds the word React dash DOM, it should actually replace it with this particular word. Okay, like, hopefully that was understandable and not. I hope I did not, just become a wee bit crazy there with respect to the explanation. Perfect. So now we have kind of completed the configuration required to build the library. Now let's go back to the documentation at C. Now the entry file would contain exports that would be imported by users of your package. So if you have entry point as lib/main.js, then you know it in main.js you will have import foo from dot slash foo dot view, import bar from dot slash bar dot view, and you export these two things, which actually we have done in our indexed.js actually. So we could actually have done import button from dot slash button. Okay, like, if you forget about this particular line, this is what we could have done, and then we could have done export button, not button. mm, I need a spelling lesson here. Okay, so we could have done something like this, which is what is being suggested here. Okay, but instead I actually went with the default export part, where export default as button from dot slash button. uh, so in that case we have to add tailwind also, because maybe library also user also uses tailwind in the project. Yeah, I did not. Oh, okay. I kind of understood both your sentences, messages. So you're saying that in that manner, maybe we should also do like externalize the dependency of Tailwind CSS and add it to global. The problem is that with respect to a styling thing, maybe some people would end up using just normal CSS. We want to reach to as many people as possible, which basically means that maybe someone is using uh, raw css. Okay, they are writing their own .css files and writing normal css. Maybe some people are using styled components to style. Maybe some people are using modules, css modules. Okay, everyone is using maybe, let's say, different things. And when we add react and react dom to external, we are kind of forcing the user to use our library only in a react project. But if we also add tailwind css here, then we are also forcing the user to only explicitly use tailwind css styling, which is good idea sometimes, it's also a bad idea sometimes. Okay, so, from the perspective of reaching out to as many users as possible, it is good to not force the user to explicitly use the styling that you are using. The other way around to think about it is, like, maybe you are not using Tailwind for building your library. Maybe you end up writing raw CSS the way we normally write. We, like, button colon, was it colon, like, no, button and then curly brackets, and then we give it margin padding and all that thing, the way normally we would do. Like, if it encounters a button, then give it a margin of 4 pixels. And maybe, let's say, we end up writing our css in this way. Uh, then there's nothing about forcing the user to write css this way. We want to bundle our own css with our library so that the user does not have to follow what we followed for styling it. I hope that makes sense. From the perspective of more users should be able to use it without explicitly choosing to go with a particular styling library, I think it's a good idea to not use it. But again, you can define the use case for your library yourself. Maybe you do want the user to use it, and that's completely on you, definitely. uh, Hopefully that was understandable and useful. Got it, perfect, thank you so much. And again, really good question. I really love the interaction that's happening here. uh, if anyone else has any questions, go for it. Okay, doke. So now what all we have done? We have then kind of completed most of the steps with respect to configuration. Let's go back to the documentation. And then you do a vite build, okay, to build the library. There's the recommended package JSON for your library, which says that, when you start building or when you build your project, uh, have your package JSON look something like this. Again, it's a recommendation, but let's follow it to the core. So let's go back to our package JSON. There's supposed to be a name, supposed to be a version, and type module. So these are three important things. Let us go back here. So there's supposed to be a name, there's supposed to be a type module. They have not added the version, but it is necessary. Let me tell you that it is necessary. Then there are files. Files will go into the dist folder. Okay, so what is a dist folder? It does not exist here right now, but it will once we run this particular command. Okay, so files exist in dist folder. The main and module file. Okay, what would be the main and module? So main and module, main file is, you can think of it as the file that will be imported in the library. Like, when someone says import button from GHW components UT test, where does that button code reside? It is going to reside inside the dist folder. And what would be the name? Well, the name, we actually know it is supposed to be this. Okay, that's what we have added here. File name is supposed to be this. So I'm going to just copy this over, go back to our this package JSON and paste that. And for module, it is going to be this. Once we actually build it, you will have a clear view or clear idea of what I'm talking about. Uh, so main and module, that's done. What else is there? Exports. Okay, what are the exports? So main and module are the imports that the user will import the particular file or the button code from like this path. And the exports is telling our vite bundler that, when you do the import, like when you export it in this manner, that when someone does uses import syntax, then it is supposed to import this file. When someone uses the require syntax, which is another way of importing a library, or importing a library, then give them this particular code. Okay, give them code from this particular file. So just copy paste it. So copy it, and let's come here, and we can add it right here. So in import, and we know what it is going to be called. It is going to be called this thing. So when someone uses the import syntax, which is what we actually used in, like, let's say app.jsx, we are using import syntax. Okay. In main.jsx, there's this import syntax. That is one way. There's also other way of, I think it's const my react equals to require, and then do react. Okay, this is another way of uh, importing a library, or importing a library. Not required, sorry, require. Okay, const, and the amount of spelling mistakes that I do. Okay, this is also one of the ways of importing a particular library, but we are not using it. But if someone wants to use it to import our project, feel like they should feel free. And this is the code that they're going to get. And exposing multiple endpoints, we'll come to it later. But yeah, I think even our package JSON configuration is kind of complete. Now, let's do the build part. So let's go back to the shell. Okay, go back to the shell. If you have something there, you can just right clear, hit enter, and it will clear everything right there. Now we have to run this particular command. Let me, yeah, we have to run this particular script. Okay, to run this particular script, we do npm run, and then whatever is the name of the script. So build, it's the name of the script. So you just do that and hit enter, and whoops, something happened. Unexpected string in JSON at position, blah 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 blah. What's the unexpected thing that it encountered? Yep, right here I did not put a comma. So that's blooper one. Let's see if I'm able to run it. So you could actually do up arrow, find your command, and hit run again. Okay, it seems it's running and it's transforming and it built. And just look at this. It shows that it transformed 11 modules. And in the dist folder, we have ghw-components-ut-test.js, and we have .umd.cjs. Perfect. Now on the left hand side, we can actually find it right here. But wait, why is it saying that there's only one thing? Well, that's weird. That's odd. It's supposed to have two things for sure. Why is it not there? What did I miss? I missed something. Uh, 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 uh. Or is this Replit being weird right now? Hmm. Okay, I'm a bit confused here, but I'm going to let it pass at least for at least for this moment. But I'm going to come back to it. Like, why is it not existing? Let me try and see if I can do a rm-rf and the dist folder. Yep, I've removed the dist folder, and let me see if I can run the command again and see if it builds it. Because as per this, it it has built it. Yeah, there it is. See, I told you, I think it was just Replit being weird. Uh, yep, but there is the UT test, and if you see it, you will never guess what's written here. Okay, secret internals do not. I'm pretty sure we did not write a code this long. And then there's this one where again there's a bunch of things right here. But yeah, I think that's good. So we have actually been able to build our project. We have been able to build the library. Now, how do we test whether this library is working or not? Multiple ways to test it. One of the ways that I would say is, uh, so to test, we first had to do the build. The next command is you can do npm pack. So once you do that, you will see something coming up here. It says GHW dash components dash UT dash test at 1.0.0. So, okay, let me also close some of the files that I have open, and let me open package.json. So the version that we have specified here and the name that we have specified here, it uses that to create a file, or more like a zip file, and you can see the name right here. Okay, this is the zip that it created. I did not create it, please trust me there. So it creates the zip file, and the next thing that you have to look at is there's dev dependencies, and these are all the libraries that are installed. Okay, and that's it. But if you want, okay, there's a question in package.json line 11. Ah, thank you so much. Yes, we have to. Maybe that's why it was being weird. Yep, we have to change that. Thank you so much for pointing that. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to delete the two folders. Multiple ways to delete folder. You can just right click or click on the kebab menu and delete. So let me delete. Yep, I have deleted. And now let's again do npm. Let me clear this first. Let's do npm run build. So once it runs the build, then we should have the dist folder coming back, and the two things are there. Perfect. What's the next thing that we are supposed to do? I told you you could do npm pack to kind of zip the code into this nice zip folder. And now, uh, what was the next thing that I was showing? I was showing you that these are the dev dependencies that we have. There's no dependencies being shown here, or if you are seeing it, it would be empty, like default. You could add your, like you could do npm add and the name of the library, which is GHW dash components dash UT dash test, and with this version. Basically, I'm trying to link, you can say, one way to say it is, or think about it is, I'm going to link my zip folder that was created with my project, with the current project that I'm in, to locally test whether my library works or not. So you can do npm add GHW and you can press tab to auto complete the name, and you hit enter. And once you do that, it does something. It actually installs, okay, it actually installs your library, and you can find it in the dependencies. See, this is the name of the library, and this is the like, instead of, you can think of this as the version number, which is in the current directory only, like file and file colon, this is the version number. And now we can go. So I hope you're following along. We have built the library, we have zipped it, and we have used the npm add command. I'm going to actually paste it right here in chat. We have used the npm zip command to zip it and add it, npm add command to, not npm zip, npm pack to zip it, and npm add to add our library as one of the dependency of my own project that, yeah, I have here. Now how can I use it, or how can I show it that it works? I am going to do one thing. I'm going to create a test area dot .jsx file. Uh, Again, you can just quickly follow it. What was the zip command? The zip command was just npm pack, no other parameters. Npm pack. So import React from React. So I'm creating a test area. Uh, how it is going to look like, I'll show it to you quickly. Const test area equals, this is how we create a component, right? A return, and we can do a export default test area. Okay, perfect. Now inside this return, I'm going to return a section, and inside the section, I'm going to return, add a div, and inside the div, I want to add children. Okay, so children are going to be the child components inside this main component. So you can think of the test area as a wrapper, and we will show the components, or the components from the library. Okay, the library that we installed, this GHW components ut test library that we installed inside this test area. Okay, so once I copy this, I can go over to Prettier, just paste it here. Nice little uh, formatting going on there. I can add a normal style. If you want to add normal styling to it, you can add it this way. Let's say I want to add a border to it of 2 pixels, solid. What color should be, let's say hash CCC, and there should be a margin of uh, let's say 2 rem, and padding of 2 rem. And again, this would come in inverted commas. Perfect. Uh, Sorry, I'm like kind of hurrying up here because there is supposed to be a diff next session. Okay. And I don't want the next person to be late because of me. So this is there. And now I come here and I can call import that test area right here. So import test area from dot slash test area. Come on. And below this section, I can do a test area. And inside this, now let's import the button that we have. So import button from, what's the name of our library? GHW, blah, blah, blah. Let's copy it actually quickly. Now I realize that it's quite a big name that I gave it. Okay, and inside this test area, I want the button. and I'm going to actually call this button. I'm going to comment out the previous one so that there's no conflict. And let's see what happens. So it says that it does not provide export named default. So there is one particular error that we kind of missed, but we'll come back to it actually. It's kind of time up for me, but that's why we have session number 2 and session number 3. Okay. So cool. So sorry, kind of hurrying up here, but session number 2 tomorrow, session number 3 tomorrow. See you all there. We'll fix the error. We'll see what was the error, why it is there. Kind of everything is correct. There's one small little thing that I wanted to point out, which we'll see tomorrow. Hopefully, you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me. See you all in my second session. Okay. See ya. Bye bye. Yeah, next episode.